What's going on, you guys? Before we get into today's video, just know that there is going to be a lot of spoilers. I realize that Dragon Age Inquisition is almost 11 years old by this point, but regardless, there are going to be spoilers if you have not played the game at all. If you've only played Veilguard but not Inquisition, I would actually highly recommend looking at some of the story, gameplay, just a little bit about Inquisition so you become familiar with it. But if you guys aren't worried about spoilers, in order to make a purchasing decision, enjoy the video. Dreaming is one of the most important things we can do as humans. Dreaming allows for an escape, to become something otherworldly, or to learn and grow as a person. With an overarching plotline of being the one who has to restore order to the world and effectively close the rift between Thetis and the Fade, Dragon Age Inquisition takes an intriguing look into multiple worlds colliding, where you as the player can take on the role of the cocky hero or the humble romantic. With several ways to play this game, a philosophical story, and many people capable of joining your party / your Inquisition, the game takes on a new life, and each time played, a new experience is had. What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into my review of Dragon Age Inquisition. The connection to Veilguard, Dragon Age's most recent installment, is tied effectively and effortlessly into Inquisition, making loose ends and a painful romance completed and feeling satisfactory. Veilguard also ties back to Inquisition in regards to the characters, discussions of texts, and the elven gods that sought power, who become our main antagonists in Veilguard. Narrative design is so important when crafting a meaningful and impactful world for the player to get lost in. Dragon Age Inquisition not only approaches the story with fervor and excitement, but executed in a way that, much like a song, had variance in tone, feeling, and pacing. Now, the story of Inquisition is just incredibly well written, and normally I have some critiques of the narrative design, but with this title, the work on the story and how it was executed was so well done. From the characters to how the story was paced to the locations that were traveled, it made an effortless ebb and flow. There were moments in the game, for example, where you had to behave in a certain way when the Inquisitor travels to Orleans. Gaining the favor of the court was the most important part of this section of the game. This section was where I saw things switch up, but done so in a way that was cohesive with the story and made sense in regards to the overarching plotline of the game. The game switched things up entirely when you got to Orleans and you had to gain favor of the court. You weren't fighting monsters, you weren't doing what you were normally doing in Inquisition, you were tackling an entirely different type of monster. You had to be persuasive, you had to be, in a way, manipulative and cunning, which is Solas's wheelhouse. The connection back to Veilguard made me so incredibly happy. Varric and his story made so much more sense, as well as Morrigan's and even Harding's. I felt as if I would have had an even better experience had I played Inquisition before playing Veilguard. Now, can you play Veilguard as your first Dragon Age experience? Yes, you can. Absolutely. It's just not what I would recommend, though. There's so many different character connections, even the romance between Solas and the Inquisitor. If you romanced Solas in Inquisition, there's a connection with Varric, there's a connection with Morrigan, Harding. There are so many character connections from Inquisition to Veilguard that I feel like I was missing something when I was playing Veilguard. I didn't know just what it was. Now playing Inquisition, I was missing those character interactions. I was missing vital points in which you see later on in Veilguard. The story was then accentuated upon with a stunning score. The score in this game is probably one of the most beautiful I have ever heard in any game I've played. Getting to Skyhold brought me to tears, evoking emotion for a game I never knew I possessed. The clarity in which Trevor Morris composed this section is a masterful execution, bringing emotion and excitement to an incredibly pivotal point in the game. I see this is another reason why I should have probably played Inquisition before I played Veilguard. The way that Solas's character is in Veilguard is completely different from what he is in Inquisition. The contrast in his character is a night and day difference from Inquisition to Veilguard. So already going over to Inquisition, knowing that he's the Dread Wolf, kind of waiting to see when the evil comes out, when all of the manipulation starts to come out, me not realizing I'm being gaslit and manipulated the entirety of the romance. It's not even until the end of the game where you get a cutscene that it shows that he's actually the Dread Wolf, and that to me, it would have had... Oh, it would have held more impact had I played Inquisition before I played Veilguard. I thought romancing another elf would be a good idea. Worst heartbreak in a game I have ever experienced. At first it was about gaining approval, much like in Baldur's Gate 3, but then went into pure emotional devastation. Romancing Solas proceeded to teach me a new meaning and emotional layer to feeling abandoned. Now, if you are looking to romance Solas, know that he is straight and he can only be romanced by female elves, can kind of come off as a prick sometimes, but also is a very complex character that would rather spend more time in the Fade than in reality, which the Fade can also be interpreted as a lucid dream. The Solas romance continued in Veilguard, where you can choose to redeem Solas to a degree. It's the best ending to get in my view, and it's one that directly ties to Inquisition. I mentioned it in my review of Veilguard, where I believe that Solas' character was heavily underutilized in Veilguard, and while I still think that, I also now think that he is one of those characters that substantially grew in Veilguard, not in the way we know him in Inquisition, but as the Dread Wolf, cunning, manipulative, and wanting everything all at once no matter how he behaves. So let's dive into the mechanics, because I played the entirety of Dragon Age Inquisition on PS5 and part of it on PC. The mechanics, the graphics, and the way the game ran was both a night and day difference on PC versus PS5. Now, the PS5 version had its issues, the occasional crashing, slow spellcasting times, as well as running being a bit iffy at points. Veilguard really spoiled me with amazing spellcasting times and just incredible mechanics all around, so going to Inquisition, it was kind of a whiplash. Now, playing Inquisition immediately after Veilguard showed me just how far we've come technologically in 10 years. The PC had more crashes than the PS5, but the PS5 had better looking graphics than the PC version. The PC version's graphics looked shiny, I want to say. As you guys are seeing the difference right now, the PC version just has this shiny cast to it on the hair and some of the assets and everything, where the PS5 really doesn't have that. Now, the mechanics during some of the bosses, especially the Red Lyrium Dragon, were a tad annoying. Nothing terrible. Now, keep in mind that this game is almost 11 years old, so if you were looking for high-performing graphics the way you saw in Veilguard, that is not going to be the case. What you will get, however, is a high-performing story and adventuring experience. So when you heal your characters, even when they're healed, they'll say they're in need of help, which is odd. There's also these little bits and pieces throughout the game that just didn't make sense. If I'm closing a rift and it's almost closed, why have an enemy pop up right underneath me? I get that the game wants to keep you on your feet, but it also became a bit of a nuisance. I went into the final fight as a level 14, but soon realized how bad of an idea that was, and I went around the game leveling myself up to a 16. Like, I didn't put this into the article because, you know, I don't think I'll really need to discuss this, but you guys are hearing it in this version of the review. The last boss was more annoying than it should have been, but also a little lackluster. The Inquisitor has a bit of a stare down with Corypheus for a little bit, and then you guys get right into it. It's kind of, I don't know, if that part of the game just made me feel strange, because I didn't know that it was going to be that quick that you would be going into a boss battle with Corypheus. Dragon Age Inquisition is undoubtedly one of the best games I have ever played. It's like I got stuck in the Fade, a beautiful, whimsical world capable of anything. Much like a lot of RPGs, you have the ability to be anyone you choose. BioWare, while pushing you towards a little bit of a nobler path, understands that humans of all creeds and walks of life play their games. So you have the chance to be good, you have the chance to be a jerk, you have the opportunity to be morally gray, all while closing the rift between Thetis and the Fade. This game captures beautifully a character lying to themselves and everyone around them. Solas was spending so much of his life in the Fade that the person he is portraying to the Inquisitor was a lie built on hope. There is so much to this game, so many choices that are incredibly meaningful to the story, and so many points of interest that I firmly believe it would take several playthroughs just to see all of it. Whether it's traveling into the Fade, closing rifts, hearing Varric's witty one-liners, or experiencing a moral dilemma, Dragon Age Inquisition teaches us that reality is much better than living in the Fade. But that was it for my review on Dragon Age Inquisition. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. May you find your worth in the waking world, dear hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Umbasa.